There's a woman I want to tell you about. She's 72. She lives alone in her unit on the Gold Coast, a 10-minute drive from my clinic, and for 2 years she barely left her home. Not because she couldn't walk. She could. She just didn't trust herself to. Because 18 months before I met her, she fell in her bathroom. She wasn't badly hurt. A bruised hip, a bruised ego. But something changed inside her that day. She started holding the wall every time she walked down the hallway. She canceled her weekly coffee catch-up with her neighbor. She stopped walking to the park. Then one of her daughter's friends mentioned a community Tai Chi group that met Tuesday and Thursday mornings at the local rec center. And that woman, who had been shrinking her world for almost 2 years, she went. Within 3 months, she was back at that coffee catch-up. Within 6, she was walking to the park again. That is the power of the community prescription. Welcome to the Wellness Bridge. I'm Gary Chen, physiotherapist and founder of GC Integrative Physiotherapy and Wellness on the Gold Coast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. James, a geriatric exercise physiologist based right here at Gold Coast, whose research focuses on how community movement programs can prevent falls and restore independence in older Australians. James, welcome.
Thanks so much, Gary. It's a real pleasure to be here. This is a topic I genuinely care about, so I'm happy to have the conversation.
James, let's start with the scale of what we're dealing with, because I think most people don't fully appreciate how significant falls are as a health issue for older Australians.
You're right to call that out. The numbers are confronting. About 1 in 4 Australians over 65 falls every year, roughly 27%. And for those over 85, that climbs to around a third. Falls cost the Australian healthcare system $2.3 billion annually. But here's the thing that I always want people to understand. The cost isn't just financial. It's the cascade of consequences. You fall once, even a minor fall, and the fear of falling again can shrink someone's entire world. That fear becomes its own risk factor.
That's the part one see clinically all the time, that psychological spiral. Can you explain what that actually looks like mechanically? Because I think a lot of people assume falls are just a physical problem.
It's called the fear of falling cycle, and it's almost textbook in how it unfolds. Someone experiences a fall, or even near misses, and they develop anxiety around movement. They start avoiding activities, and when you reduce your activity, you lose muscle strength and your balance mechanisms deteriorate, which means your actual risk of falling goes up, which amplifies the fear. So you end up with someone who is physically declining specifically because they're trying to protect themselves. It's a deeply tragic irony. And recent research, including a 2024 umbrella review published in Frontiers in Public Health, confirmed that this cycle is one of the primary drivers of falls-related disability in community-dwelling older adults.
I see it every week in clinic. And the solution, as you've dedicated your career to demonstrating, is often not more medical intervention, it's community.
Exactly. And the science here is now extremely compelling. A 2025 meta-analysis of 21 randomized controlled trials, published in Frontiers in Public Health, found that Tai Chi significantly improved balance ability, walking speed, functional reach, and confidence in preventing falls, all key clinical predictors of actual fall events. The most effective dose was practicing more than 3 times per week for 10 to 26 weeks, with sessions under an hour. That's incredibly achievable for most older adults.
And the Otago exercise program is another one you've researched directly, right? That's been around for a while, but the group delivery evidence is quite new.
Yes, and this is a finding that changed how I design programs. The Otago exercise program has long had strong evidence as an individual, home-based regimen, 35 to 40% reduction in falls, solid across multiple systematic reviews, but the traditional thinking was that one-on-one delivery was essential. A 2024 non-inferiority trial published in BMC Nursing across 728 participants found that group delivery was equivalent to individual delivery in fall prevention efficacy over 12 months. The group worked just as well, and in some measures, adherence was actually better in the group because people showed up for each other.
That's the human element. People will get out of bed to not let down the Tuesday morning group in a way that they won't do it alone.
Exactly right. Social obligation as a health intervention, which sounds like a joke, but the evidence is very serious. A 2025 systematic review found that community-based interventions improve not just physical health, but psychological well-being and social connection simultaneously. The falls prevention is almost a side effect of the belonging.
James, I want to go somewhere philosophical for a moment because this is the wellness bridge, and I believe Western science and Eastern wisdom often arrive at the same place from different directions. You mentioned sensory reweighting earlier. Can you explain that for our listeners?
Sure. So when we look at what Tai Chi is actually doing to the nervous system, a 2024 study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that the balance improvements aren't primarily about reducing sway or building leg strength. They come from improved sensory reweighting. What that means is the brain learns to trust proprioception, the body's internal position sense more, and to rely less on the vestibular system, which degrades as we age. The brain essentially recalibrates its hierarchy of sensory inputs, and the result is balance that is more adaptive, more robust, more responsive to unexpected surfaces and sudden changes. That's why Tai Chi practitioners often have dramatically better reactive balance than people who do conventional strength training.
You know what that reminds me of? There's a concept in Taoist practice called Jiajun rooting. The idea is that balance doesn't come from gripping the ground tighter or bracing harder. It comes from a quality of presence, a downward settling of awareness into the body, particularly into the feet and lower body, that creates what I can only describe as internal architecture. And what you're describing with sensory reweighting is essentially the same thing from a neuroscience perspective. The nervous system learning to listen inward to proprioception rather than constantly scanning outward for the ground. Tai Chi, at its core, is a practice of building that internal root. And for a 70-year-old woman who has lost trust in her body, teaching her to find that root again is not just a balance exercise. It's a restoration of self. It's helping her say, I know where I am. I trust my body. I'm safe.
That's a beautiful framing, Gary. And clinically, that's exactly what we see. When the fear of falling cycle breaks, when someone rebuilds their confidence in their own body, the transformation is whole person, not just physical.
All right, James, let's make this actionable. For the listeners at home, whether they're older adults themselves or whether they have parents or grandparents they're worried about, what are the three most important things to understand?
Number 1, start before you think you need to. Most people associate falls prevention with high-risk, frail individuals, but the research is clear. The ideal time to build the balance and strength reserves that protect you is in your 50s and 60s, before decline begins. The ESA, Exercise and Sports Science Australia, published an updated position statement in 2024 recommending progressive balance and strength training for all community-dwelling adults as they age, not just those who've already fallen.
Prevention as the default, not the exception.
Exactly. Number 2, the group setting matters. Don't just exercise alone. The data shows group delivery of falls prevention programs is at least equivalent to individual programs, and for many people, the social accountability is what makes them show up week after week. Tai Chi classes, community yoga, local walking groups, all of these count. And the social connection they provide has been shown to independently reduce anxiety, depression, and fall risk. It's a package deal.
And number 3?
Number 3 is about environment. Research consistently shows that roughly half of all falls in older adults involve a modifiable environmental hazard, a loose mat, inadequate lighting, a bathroom without grab bars. So while we build inner strength through movement, we also need to design our environments to support safety. A simple falls hazard audit of the home, which a physiotherapist can do or which families can do together using the CDC's STEADY checklist, can dramatically reduce risk. Inner work and outer work together.
I love that framing. Inner work, building strength, balance, proprioceptive confidence. Outer work, creating an environment that meets you where you are. And the community program is a space where both happen, where you build the inner capacity and you're surrounded by people who care whether you show up next week. James, I want to come back to that woman I mentioned at the start of the episode. She joined a community Tai Chi group. She broke the fear of falling cycle not by being told what to do in the clinic, but by showing up twice a week with a group of people her age who are all navigating the same thing. And I think that's the community prescription, isn't it? It's not a drug. It's not a procedure. It's belonging. It's movement in the company of others. It's finding your root again with people alongside you.
That's it. That's the whole thing. The evidence is so strong now that it almost becomes a moral argument that we have a responsibility to make community movement programs available, accessible, and normalized for older Australians. Because when we do, people don't just stop falling. They start living.
I couldn't agree more. James, thank you so much for joining us on the Wellness Bridge today. This has been genuinely one of my favorite conversations on this podcast. For our listeners, if today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone you love who is in their 60s or 70s, not because they're falling, but because the best time to build the community prescription into your life is today. This is the Wellness Bridge. I'm Gary Chen. And remember, together we find balance in one. Take care.